I get so jealous of the bluegrass players who like have been playing since they were 3 and 4. Like I get so jealous of their right hand and their left hand and every hand that they have. It's
pure elegance.
Yeah. But I've been trying to challenge myself to get a little bit more into flat picking because I spent so many years just finger picking, and that's so much more comfortable for me. So yeah, it's fun.
It's paying off.
Thank you.
You're getting that balance, that right wrist.
Thank you. I'm trying. I'll never have it like I said. Like you just see people who've been doing it forever.
There ain't no telling where I come from. That ain't what you do. But hiding skeleton just ain't in my bones. I gotta tell the truth. Will they believe me or just call me crazy when I tell them you're the villain? There ain't no telling, but I'm still telling on you.
Caroline Jones, thank you so much for making time to talk with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I've been looking forward to this conversation. I was just saying before the mics were rolling that I have been really enjoying the new record.
Thank you.
Sonically, like the record sounds like $1 million. I don't know how much it costs to make it, but it sounds really great. But also the songs are just really on point.
Thank you.
Third thing is that, and we're going to get into this because I know you played almost everything on the record.
I played a bunch of instruments on this record. I've played almost everything on previous records, but this one I brought in a few other musicians. And I've been doing that kind of intentionally in the last few records. My first 2 records I wrote by myself, and I played almost all the instruments except bass and drums on them. Mm-hmm. And then since then, I got to this place, I was really creatively stubborn and had a very strong vision at a young age, and really wanted, more than anything, just wanted to learn how to be great at my crafts. And so I really disciplined myself to try to learn instruments, learn about production. Obviously, I'd been learning about songwriting since I was a kid, and just really become as adept in my crafts as I could. And I had all these parts that I would hear in my head and wanted to bring to life on records. And so I did that for several years and loved it and learned a lot. And now I'm kind of in a phase where I sit down and I'm like, okay, I have this half-written song and I know what I'll say if I finish it. But like, what if I bring in this person, or what will this person bring out in me? And that's been a fun adventure the last few years, especially to try to find my co-writing tribe. And then by extension, production. Like I co-produced with Julian Raymond on this record, and he brought in some players that I didn't know, some players that I'd worked with a lot before, like Tom Bukovac and Mark Hill, but then some new players that I didn't know as well. And it's just fun, honestly. Mm. And there are people, obviously I'm nowhere near on the level that those musicians are, but there is so much to learn. And even beyond what there is to learn from musicians, even the best players have their wheelhouse, So like I brought a bunch of like these baritone part ideas, and I was like Tom Bukovac, because I just, as much as I love the sound of baritone guitar, I just don't have that like manly gene that's like, you know what I'm saying? So it was fun to branch out.
When you say that you learn from another musician, and I mean, I understand this on a intuitive level as a musician himself. Is there an example that you could articulate of something that like having another player who's super great, arguably better than you, your words, that is there something specific that you can articulate that you learn from?
Oh yeah,
like
so many.
player?
I mean, that's part of the reason that I love Nashville so much, and that it's really the last city that we really make records live in. Like New York and LA don't really do that anymore. Like we still track live for the most part. I mean,
did you track live on this record?
Yeah. I mean, less so now. I didn't I redid vocals and stuff
Sure.
like that, but we tracked with the band live.
What room?
We did Blackbird and we did Starstruck. Yeah.
Cool.
But that's the last city where they really do that, and where the players are good enough to do that, and where there's still an industry for musicians like that, because most pop music now is mostly synthesized instruments, so there aren't a whole lot of live instruments on commercial records anymore. Whereas in Nashville there still are, and there's this whole I guess assembly line like format and industry built around it, which I think is really amazing. But there's so much that you learn in those sessions, or that I learn in those sessions. Like, and I make a point to really study, like when Todd Lombardo, for example, hears a song and he's going to put an acoustic guitar on it, like it could be simple, but I really study like what voicing does he choose? What's his strumming pattern does he choose? What, what does he layer on top of that? Like it's a high strung or and it's fascinating to me because it's like cooking, it's like, it's you watch someone who's a great cook and they're just like, okay, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a dash of this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but if you taste it, you're like, what the hell is in there? Like, how did they do that? And so I've always been fascinated by that process. And Tom Bukovac is, he's been a hero of mine since I first came to Nashville. Like I got to do a session with him when I was 20 years old with him and Mac McAnally, and I was just blown away. Like I remember him just teaching me that the guitar has an EQ on it, like depending on where you play, like if you play closer to the bridge, you play closer to the neck, like you're changing the.
What a great lesson.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a simple
for a young
lesson.
Player, yeah, especially.
But so powerful, that you have tone controls in your hand, and he's just obviously a master of knowing what a track needs, knowing how to bring it to life, and just a great character. Like I have a real soft spot in my heart for him and working with him, but all the players are like that. And just hearing their sensibilities and then collaborating with them and giving them ideas. And they're all really, it's rare to have an industry of masters who are so open to, I don't even want to say criticism, but open to other ideas.
Direction.
Direction. Yeah. Because you're like, that's just instilled in you in Nashville. There's no room, like it's my way or the highway. There's no room for that here. So it's just rare to have people that are that good that you can actually say, hey, what about this? Or what, or why don't you do this? And then you can try it and it does work or doesn't work. So, and I think the players appreciate that because a lot of times they just kind of like play it down and everyone's like, that's great. You know what I mean? And it's really fun to get in the nitty gritty with them because they're so deep as musicians and as like technicians that you can really have fun.
Well, they're just like also just they're such a powerful tools that can do anything,
right,
that it's like they'll do their idea that occurs to them first, but I'm sure it would make sense that they would respond favorably to somebody who had kind of their own vision or were trying for a vision, because that becomes new game for a guy who can play everything 20 different ways. Yeah. However you want it is how you get it. It's like, okay, let's talk.
Especially if you're approaching it like with that attitude, collaboratively, and humbly. So I remember being 20 and leaving that first session and going back. I was living in New York at the time. I was in college and thinking, I would love to have songs on the radio. I would love to win awards. I would love to sell out arenas. I would love to, but like in the end, like what I really want is like these people to respect me. Like that would mean success for me. So,
well, you just kind of answered it, but I'm curious to know a little bit more about, let's see, in my research, I remember reading that, you weren't like in your mind destined to be a country singer as a kid.
Right.
And so it strikes me that maybe at 20 you were still, I don't know what that looked like for you, what kind of songs on the radio you wanted to have. So maybe, like who were you listening to when you were 20? Who were your heroes?
Well, see, when I was 20, so you're absolutely right. I didn't grow up listening to country. I grew up in the Northeast in Connecticut. And so I grew up listening to almost everything but country. My dad loves classic rock, classic R&B, like Earth, Wind & Fire, The Temptations, The Who, Led Zeppelin, like all that stuff. And then my mom loves Olivia Newton-John and ABBA and the big divas of the 90s like Mariah and Whitney and Celine. And then I was trained classically in opera and jazz. So I literally grew up listening to everything but country. And when I was 16, 17, my manager at the time heard some of the songs that I was writing, the early songs I was writing. And he said, you should go down to Nashville because that's the last place where they really care about music, like care about the art of songs and musicians, and that there's still like a value system there. I was young, so I think he was like protective too of me in New York or LA. And so I went down to Nashville and I went to a show at the Bluebird here, and I was just totally transfixed. I mean, I felt like I'd found the missing piece of my artistry. I felt like I'd found a community that I wanted to one day belong to. And I just went home back to New York, and I started at the Carter family and went forward from there and just listened to the whole history of country music. And then I found kind of the people that I really loved, like my favorites are Willie Nelson and Vince Gill and Emmylou Harris and Dolly Parton, and lead guitar players, like whether it's Vince Gill or Keith Urban or, and so I just found my favorites, and then that informed a lot of my writing as well. So when I was 20, I was listening to a lot of country because it was still kind of new to me, I was listening to a lot of old country too at that time.
I can relate. I grew up listening to, I grew up in rural Idaho, and so it was like top 40 on the radio in the 80s. So that was the time, the upside of that was like there was still like commercial music that everybody heard, you heard the top 40 songs. You'd listen to it every Sunday night. And I remember then I had found my own way, cut to a few years later, and I was really into Doc Watson and like country folk, I guess I would call it, like pickin', but also like folk songs more than. And I remembered at that time, I was living in Seattle, and I went to a club called the Showbox, still there. It's like 1,000 cap room. And I can't even remember who I saw, but it was a country band. Might have been Dierks Bentley. And I just didn't really love the songs. It was just like not my thing, but I just was like mass respect for the musicianship.
Yeah.
I was like, these guys are throwing down in a way that like, I don't know anybody who plays like this. And that part of the Nashville sound, or like the country ethos, was and is really attractive to me. Like, I'm not part of the country world. I never have been. I have lots of friends that write. I'm not like a row writer, and that still, it's part of the town. I mean, I'm like, we were talking earlier, just I too have an aspiration to be as good on my instrument as possible. I've always been excited about that. And one of the reasons why living in Nashville continues to be exhilarating is to be surrounded by people who are better than you. Who are better than you and who are just inspiring to be around. I guess it would be like that.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, it's kind of a dying art a little bit of like playing music live. Obviously you have the non-commercial genres. I don't want to say completely non-commercial, but you have jazz and bluegrass in these places where there are monster musicians, but country is really commercially viable still. And there's still live music and live playing going on, making those records, which I think is really cool. You're
in a place in your career now where I feel like it's more understandable that the collaborative spirit that you're embracing, like having the co-writers and being surrounded by other players. I imagine that was different when you were younger. And let me see if I can like get my words out here. But when you're young, I mean, always this is the case, but especially when you're young, you're like, who am I? What is my sound? I could be like this. I could be like this. What is my thing?
Right.
And it can be dangerous in a way to surrender too easily to outside influences. Right. Does that make sense?
100%. I mean, it happens to almost everyone. I saw that really early on too in Nashville, because there is sort of an assembly line that can happen.
You mentioned it earlier.
And I was, maybe some people are more self-assured at a young age. I was really timid, and I knew that there were very early on, there were songwriters and producers who I knew I was making music that wasn't necessarily what I wanted to make or what I wanted to put out into the world. And, I had and still have the support of a manager that I was able to not have to do that. And so I really took it upon myself to spend years really crafting my own sound. And most people, like, that was a luxury that I was afforded because I had great support from him. But I feel very grateful because I really spent years like crafting my own sound and figuring out who I was and what my voice was, not just literally, but like in a songwriting sense, in a musical sense. And then, you know, when I actually met my husband, he really encouraged me. He was like, you should branch out. You should see what you know, like you shouldn't be so protective of your artistry. You know, there's also a danger there, right? It's both extremes. Like there's a danger of completely losing your identity in maybe what's commercial or what other people want you to sound like. And then there's a danger also of getting too insular and getting too much in your own head as an artist and not taking advantage of the incredible talent and camaraderie and friendship and creative collaboration. Because there is an energy to collaboration. Like if, I know you've felt this, but like when you're in the room and you're writing a great song by yourself, it's a great feeling. But when you're in the room and you're writing a great song like with 3 other people, you're like, you know, like it's such a high. And so that's just become a joy for me as I get older with the right people, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about the songwriting part of it. That whole tension. I mean, I feel like if there's a through line for this conversation so far, it's the tension between being an independent spirit, like creatively, and that knowing how and when and why to let other people in and who. And those two things, I feel like every artist has to find their own way. And there's no right way, wrong way, 2 ways to do it. And as far as the songwriting goes, I notice, having written many songs by myself and also having collaborated and co-written, the songs that have meant most to me were ones I did by myself, because I really was like, had something I needed on my heart. But the songs that did best for me were collaborations for sure. And I just know, I found it's like a little bit of an aha or a to know that, you know, sometimes having a collaborator, especially somebody who's, you know, cut their teeth writing more commercial songs, or they kind of lean that way in their intentions. They bring, you know, I'll speak for myself. I brought the weird, singular point of view thing, you know, and I was like, I got this feeling that I need to, and then, you know, that person helped me like put it in a way that like more people were able to plug into it.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and what you just said about the meaning of the songs you wrote by yourself and the success, like you said, that's something everyone has to navigate for themselves. And some people have totally opposite experiences or different experiences. And I think that maybe we get too in our heads about it and have too much to prove. And I think it's just the joy of creativity in any chapter. Like, what does that look like right now? And just do that and don't overthink it, you know?
I think don't overthink it is a pretty good advice.
Yeah, because I think especially as songwriters, and we're so in our head, it's our form of comparison of like, did you write this by yourself? Like, how many people are on? It's like, who cares? You know what I mean? Obviously, there's a great discipline and craftsmanship to being able to write something by yourself. But in the end, it's really about the joy of creativity and how connected you feel to it and how connected you feel to other people. And that's what we're all doing here, you know?
Tell me about an early experience with music that you had that either, you know, inspired you to want to pursue this, or that maybe these are 2 different experiences, but most likely they are, that made you feel like you had a shot, or, you know, like maybe I do have some talent here. Maybe I have
well, I was so brazen. I mean, I never thought I didn't have a shot. Like I was so, you know, so brazen at such a young age. I was like, I'm going to do this, you know, in one way or another. And I really feel blessed that on my worst day, like music is still my job. That's so amazing, you know? So I don't know if I ever had an experience that said I can do this, but I definitely had experiences that I can remember vividly of singing a song or writing a song and feeling more connected to myself and my purpose. It's really hard to articulate because it's such a spiritual experience, you know? But I remember singing Celine Dion songs and Mariah songs. Like they were my heroes, those big vocalists of the 90s. And I remember singing their songs and just at like 8, 9, 10 years old and just imagining being on stage. And I remember going to concerts when I was 10, 11 years old and just feeling so almost like an anger like an urgency. Like I shouldn't be here. I should be up there. Like why am I here? You know, like I don't even want to go to a concert. I just want to be on stage, you know? So there was a real,
I still feel that way.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Like you're just like, just let me up there, you know? Like, and so I've had that urgency since I was a little girl. And then even before I was a big music fan as a kid, like I would just write poems and stories. And I thought I was going to be a child author. Like I was just very precocious.
Were all your family precocious? You have
definitely
your siblings, or?
Yes, I have 3 younger siblings, but I was the oldest. So I was definitely the most precocious, and I always felt and acted like an adult. Like to me, they were like the kids, you know, like an inconvenience to me. And I just wanted to be, you know, like I would write scripts and plays and dances and they were like my, you know, I was like, we got to learn this. You got to learn your lines. We're going to be filming. And they're like, we're on school vacation. Like, I don't want to rehearse my lines. And I'm like, I spent 2 weeks writing this script. You know what I mean? Like I was that kid. It's kind of obnoxious, but it was just always in me. Yeah.
I wonder, so your father is famously successful, and there was opportunities that came along with that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But I'm more curious about what, like, I'm sure that he's remarkable in his discipline
field,
in his field, but like the things that he taught you or your parents instilled in you in terms of work ethic, how has that fed into your music? Or was it, you know, if music wasn't, your parents weren't like, you need to practice 30 minutes a day.
No,
it sounded like you were going to do it anyway.
No. Yeah. And they never pushed me in music. My mom loved music. But she never really pushed me. Both my parents are really, really hard workers. Like not just, obviously my dad's extremely successful in his field, and my mom has been a stay-at-home mom but she is a warrior. Like she is in the things that she applies herself to, she is like one of the hardest working people I've ever met. So both of them are just like off the charts in work ethic. So it wasn't even something they really had to instill. It was like not an option, you know? Did you feel like you absorbed it by watching them? Yes, definitely. And it was from passion, you know, like my dad's really passionate about what he does. My mom's really passionate about what she does. It wasn't from, I mean, I guess there is a little bit of OCD there. I was like, it's not, I think we all, like everyone in our family has a little of that, like a real, compulsion to work hard.
Were your rooms clean growing up?
But you know, just like even just applying yourself to school, to activities, to whatever disciplines we did, there was just, it was just part of our family dynamic, I guess, part of the family culture. And it was a joy, you know, like both my parents are, like I said, really hard workers and really smart. So I liked that in the music industry, there were a lot of different ways to apply your brain to, like, not just creatively, but there's a lot of different ways to be savvy in the and I really enjoyed that. Like I liked being the captain of my own ship early on. So it's interesting. I just interviewed yesterday this band called The Brook and the Bluff, really talented guys, 4-piece band, the true band. Like they moved here from Alabama. They're doing great. They have a new record coming out shortly. And the 2 main kind of songwriters in the band are who I talked to. And they were talking about how, you know, they always had this creative will and this desire to make songs, but they couldn't think past like how to make it. Like they couldn't think about how do I get to that venue that I want to play. Right, exactly.
And it wasn't until the 3rd member had saw them out play and was like, "Hey, do you guys need a drummer?" And he could play the drums, be all in the
had that kind of like entrepreneurial spirit.
That kind of intelligence.
Yeah.
And
I will say, I think I was really lucky to grow up around that because to your point, like you can be super creative and smart, but if you don't like grow up seeing those kind of people applying themselves that way, it can be like, how the heck did we do this? You know what I mean? So I think I was really lucky to see, you know, I grew up around a lot of successful people. So I think I was really lucky to see that.
I wonder too, if part of the allure of music for you was like, I can stamp out my own path to success and thereby kind of have more of my own individual sense. if I make my way forward in this this creative field.
Of course, there's a lot of that, but that came way after just the raw passion, like as a kid, the raw creativity. Because actually, I've thought about this, like especially becoming a mom and getting older, and I'm sure you had this experience becoming a dad, but just as you continue in this industry, it's so wonderful and it's also so disappointing and so heartbreaking at times, and you constantly have to reassess, like, why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? And so this is kind of a roundabout answer to your question, but like that passion, that just like raw creative passion that I had as a little girl, like I would have that no matter what my job was. Like I would have to be doing something creative or I truly think I would die. Like I've said this before, or I won't say die, but like I'd be in a mental, like I would not be.
You wouldn't be well.
A functioning person. Yeah. I just have to be creative. So that was like the first thing. And then of course, as you apply it, you're like, well, I'm going to show my parents that I can be, I mean, every kid has that, but for me, I just had a bigger shadow. So it was like, of course I wanted to prove, I wanted to do it my way. I was like, I won't need anyone. I won't, and a lot of that is just, like immaturity and also just trying really hard to be someone in your parents' eyes. Like it's a very universal thing, but yeah, I think when I was like in my 20s, I operated a little more like that. Now that I'm a mom, I'm really interested in like, what is my gift? What can I share with the world? Like, how can I just like contribute? What's my fingerprint? You know what I mean? And like, let the chips fall where they may. If that means like, I'm on the radio or I'm playing shows here, or I'm playing for 200 people or I'm playing for 20,000 people. Like, I just want to contribute. Like, I want my son to grow up seeing his mom, like, be creative, do her thing, contribute, like, do it with all that she has. And because or else there's no reason to be like touring around and being away from your family. And like, especially when you're a mom, so it has to mean something more than just like, look at me, you know what I mean? As you get older, I think.
Absolutely. When you're young, look at me is plenty enough.
Yeah. And we're so trained in this industry to be self-promotional. Like I was thinking about this watching the Super Bowl, but when you're an athlete, you're trained from a young age to be humbled in public, like repeatedly, like we lost it. Like think about this, think about doing your show and then going and sitting down in front of all the people, like all the press and media who'd just seen it and being like, I messed this up. I missed this note. I just wasn't good enough tonight. Like that's what athletes have to, they literally go out, like leave it all in the field. And then they go to a press conference and they're just like, we just weren't good enough tonight. Like it's just like for artists who are so sensitive and taught to be so self-promotional, like I'm so great. And like, it's unfathomable. You know what I mean? And so I feel like that like self-promotional thing, it's kind of, I don't know, it can be really toxic. I'm glad I've kind of gotten over a little bit of that, but it takes a lot of time, I think. At least for me, it did. Yeah.
Can relate. And one of the things I had to learn early when I struck out, here's a quick version of my story. I was really interested in music from a very young age. My parents were utterly uninterested. There was no records in our house growing up, but we like small town church growing family. My parents were very religious, and we went to church twice on Sunday, once on Wednesday until I was like 15 years old or something. Yeah. And but there was a lot of singing. And that's how I got, used to it. It's still like, that's where I kind of like, when I hear like the old Rugged Cross or those hymns, I'm like, fucking good. Yeah. But I had like, I was kind of precociously talented in my way. I could just do it. And I wanted to do it. And I liked to get up in front of people and da-da-da-da. And I, at the same time, had no, interest. When I was a kid, I didn't think this way. I also, you grew up in New York, which is such I can only appreciate that from a distance. I'll never know what that's like. Because for me, like people who were in the music business or any entertainment business, that was just something that happened out there. Right. And so we made our like own little fun. There was a freedom in that. Right. And, but anyway, when I got kind of serious about it, and it was in college, I had a bluegrass band, and then we had some momentum, and I could do it for my job. And then from that transitioned into like doing it solo. You're going to kill the lights, Weston.
Close the door.
got more serious about it, I realized that, like, God, and this is even in the aughts, and it's only gone, way harder this way ever since. But it was like, wow, you really do have to champion yourself. No one is going to do this for you.
Right.
And as like the introverted side of me, I had to get over that, or die.
Right.
It was like, and
it's that push pull of that, right?
Totally.
Like,
and
that's how you make it.
To this day, it's still not comfortable.
Yeah.
But you sort of, this comes up all the time in the conversations with the other artists. Everybody has to make peace with it on some level.
And it blows my mind. Like, I think I was kind of a performer type from very young.
Yeah.
And that comes with its own drawbacks. But like people like Mac McAnally blow my mind, who are like super successful and talented, who like literally would just rather not be seen or heard. Like they'd rather just be like playing music from like under a blanket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, they're so shy, like painfully shy, where like, why am I on stage? Like people have to like push them on stage. Like to me, I was like clawing I was like, can't wait to get the opportunity, So it's so interesting, the different types of creative people,
I came across this lecture once a couple years ago, and I'm going to stumble through it a little bit, but I think it's important and interesting. And it was illuminating to me when I saw it. And the guy was up there. He was a Music Row guy, and he was giving a lecture to some kids, college kids, about songs and what might drive you and what's actually valuable. And he was just like, when you write a song and you sing it, you think, and you get favorable feedback from an audience, you think that's because the song that you wrote is great. And he's like, it really is about 10 other things also, not the least of which is like you're young and attractive.
Right.
And it occurred to me like, oh yeah, there is a deceit that comes with singing a mediocre song really well and being beautiful at the same time, or something, it's like, and
or being great at branding, that's a big thing now.
Any of those like things that happen that are like, I would put in the performance bucket.
Yeah.
But like people like Mac McNally are squarely in the like content bucket, the substance bucket. And it's like that song, you could take that song and hand it to anybody.
Yeah.
And anybody would respond to it because the song is so good.
Right.
And I was that was really helpful for me to like get out of, this idea of like, well, I'll just sing it and then I can make it work.
Right.
It's like, that's not good enough. You need to like,
unfortunately, I mean, we wish it was good enough, but it's just, and again, it's about really having the forethought to look at the landscape and saying, okay, like, where could I fit in, or what's important to me? Like, what am I willing to, what am I passionate about doing with my time, with my career, with my, because like they really should sit you down and tell you all these things when you want to be in music. Like, here's what it takes to be this kind of artist. Like, here's what it takes. Here's how you're going to have to spend your time. Like, maybe it's like 20% of the time you're actually playing music, and like 60% of the time you're traveling, and 20% of the time you're doing social media, like whatever it is, and it's changing so fast that nobody can keep up. But a lot of us are reactive, and I won't put myself in this category because I try really hard to be intentional about all this stuff. Like, most people are just reactive. Oh, well, like, that's successful, so blah, 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 you know what I mean? And
make that but different.
Yeah. And and so it's just a really interesting time. It's a hard time for artists and creatives. In some ways it's the best time for artists and creatives, but it's nothing we haven't had to navigate before in one way or another.
I do know, and on a separate note entirely, I think that you brought your guitar with you.
I did,
and I wonder if you would play one for us here in the studio. Yes. Do you want to set this up?
Yes, I do. So this is a song, it's the single off my album. It's called No Tellin. And a lot of this album is kind of dark and bluegrassy musically, like almost Appalachian, and has a lot of rock elements. There's a lot of live strings on this album, which was really fun. Tim Lauer's an amazing string arranger.
Dear friend.
Yes. Oh, such a great guy. And then lyrically, the song's pretty heavy. The song is about an abusive relationship I was in when I was younger. And it took me a really long time to process through and really like speak to anyone about, let alone write about. So I think becoming a mom, and even the prospect of becoming a mom, really put jet fuel on my desire to like make sure, I've always been like a really hard worker on myself, even, like spiritually, emotionally, physically, like I take health and wellness really seriously. But then the prospect of becoming a mom, I was like, there's some things I really need to like get a hold of and process through. And so I feel like this song had been writing itself actually for years, because I'd never written about this experience. And it was really cathartic. And I think more importantly, because like all the processing and stuff I've really been doing like in therapy and with the people who love me. But I think more than anything, like I wanted to write a song about this because there's so many people who have experienced something like this, and there's so many people who need to hear it. And it's just about the moral courage of telling a really hard, ugly truth. And like when keeping a secret becomes like more painful or more damaging than telling the truth. And yeah, I'm really, really proud of this song. Yeah.
Can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
Secret I've been keeping, it's been eating me alive. Been manipulated into thinking that the fault was mostly mine. Ooh, 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 all the hell you put me through. Ooh, 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 I'm about to raise some too. There ain't no telling where I come from. That ain't what you do. But hiding skeleton just ain't in my bones. I gotta tell the truth. Will they believe me or just call me crazy when I tell them you're the villain? There ain't no telling, but I'm still telling on you. Lay my reputation on the line, 'cause I ain't lying anymore. And I ain't about to apologize for being too afraid before. Ooh, 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 protecting you, protecting us. Ooh, 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 I really thought that's what love was, 'cause there ain't no telling where I come from. That ain't what you do. But hiding skeletons just ain't in my bones. I gotta tell the truth. Will they believe me or just call me crazy when I tell them you're the villain? There ain't no telling, but I'm still telling on you. Well, there I come back to bite, but I just can't sleep at night, knowing there's a chance you might do to her what you did to me. And I ain't trying to drag your name, but if I could save her the pain, well then it's worth the price I'll pay, if the truth will set her free. 'Cause there ain't no telling where I come from. That ain't what you do. But hiding skeletons just ain't in my bones. I gotta tell the truth. Will they believe me or just call me crazy when I tell them you're the villain? There ain't no
that was fantastic.
Thank you.
And love the picking.
Thank you.
You know, it's
Thank
like,
you.
yeah, that stuff doesn't happen on accident, you know?
Thank you. Well, especially the last few years, I've been really trying to challenge myself to, I mean, I get so jealous of the bluegrass players who like have been playing since they were 3 and 4. Like I get so jealous of their right hand and their left hand and every hand that they have. It's
pure elegance.
Yeah. But I've been trying to challenge myself to get a little bit more into flat picking because I spent so many years just finger picking, and that's so much more comfortable for me. So yeah, it's fun.
It's paying off.
Thank you.
You're getting that balance, that right wrist.
Thank you. I'm trying. I'll never have it. Like I said, like you just see people who've been doing it forever.
Oh yeah. Like Brian Sutton's wrist.
Oh my God.
But was there a guy or a gal who you studied? Like, I can talk about flat picking for a second because I just like worked so hard at it for so long, and you would never know watching me play. But I really hide it deep, all my study. But the whole right-handed technique in particular, there were so many different analogies that different guys would say, and also different ways they would play. Like,
right.
Some people would still put their
their
wrists.
Like some people, like their whole arm is moving. Some people it's just this, and then and well, for me, it was actually joining the Zac Brown Band that I had to get better at it because my main job is acoustic guitar. And being the rhythm player behind Zac, because Zac's parts are so intricate and most of them are finger picking. And so I just had to get better at it. And they play bluegrass in their, we play bluegrass in our set. And then just, I think probably Tony Rice, Brian Sutton, like Billy Strings. I mean, all these guys are just monsters. And then once you just look into that world, it's like the height of, mastery. So just studying some of them. I mean, I don't think bluegrass is my favorite kind of music in terms of taste. I more like really appreciate the technicality of it.
Sure.
And I didn't grow up listening to it. Like I'd much rather listen to like R&B or gospel or something. Like those melodies like feel like home to me. But I just really appreciate the musicality of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Can relate. I had a formative experience when I was younger where I was very passionate about music, and I had discipline and drive and a lot of the idiot things that you really need to have if you're going to be serious about this. But the thing that was kind of jaded that made me like, I don't know, it just left me cold a little bit was the showy off. Like let me see, the emphasis placed on appearance more than like almost over other things. And I went to this bluegrass festival. This is in Washington State in Tacoma. It's called Wintergrass. It's still happening. Then it was like at the Sheraton in downtown Tacoma. God knows why. But the very first time I went there, I remember opening the door and just seeing like picking everywhere, like grandpas playing with kids in these little circles. I'd never seen anything like that.
Know.
And I just was like, God, these people are deep, and you would never, like musically, but you would never know it if you saw them at a grocery store.
I know.
And that content aspect of it was so attractive to me. Like it set me off on an 8-year journey until I was like, you know what, that's not really my gift.
Right.
I'm never going to pick like, Chris Thiele.
Right.
But I got a lot better.
And it's great
in the
practice,
meantime.
like even just for what the songs that I write. I don't write traditional bluegrass songs, but it's all enriching. I mean, I definitely do. I think especially as I get older, I do feel jealous of those musical cultures that are way less aesthetic focused and less, But I think that's also just a function of the culture and the history of them, and then also just being less commercial, because like unfortunately things that become more commercial, it's just we live in a pretty shallow culture.
Yeah. As soon as you bring TV into it, the clothes gotta look pretty good.
And it just it is what
meals.
it is. It's something to navigate, especially as women,
Sure.
Yeah.
You said something earlier in introducing the song in No Tellin, and I want to circle back to an observation you made earlier about how the self-promotional aspect of being a professional in music can be toxic. And there's such an interesting juxtaposition of that, like wanting to be professional and upfront and friendly and, I've got it all under control and I'm having such a great time being in front of you all.
Yeah.
And yet the stuff that really is the most resonant is the stuff that comes from pain.
And that's raw.
You express that in introducing No Tellin. And it's I commend you for your bravery, and I find that it inspires me to go to that vulnerable place. I often think actually that I'm like a little bit too much on the confessional side of what I do. Even I write a lot. I have a Substack I'm very active on, and but at the same time, I find that when I read other people, like just admitting the things that they're most insecure about, especially on the page, it makes me feel less alone. I guess that's what I would say.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think also like the one of the tragedies of abuse is that you are made to think that the shame, like it's something you need to hide. You isolate yourself when it's like such a human, unfortunately, a human experience that many people have. And so, yeah, I think that that experience, like, I think that really informed a lot of my life of like needing to perform, needing to look perfect, needing to, and like you said, those are all the things that I find it really interesting that Gen Z, like, they just hate that. They're almost like allergic. Like, and I find it hard on social media because like they want to see you like getting out of bed, like at your ugliest, like just like picking your nose, too. like, and I'm just, or like crying about something, you know what I mean? Like, and you're just like, what? Like, this is the opposite of how I was like conditioned in the industry that like we came up in, and so it's really interesting that in such a like manufactured, like shallow world, like people are really like hungry for and like craving, especially the young people are just like craving authenticity, and not even authenticity, like actual like imperfection. Like they want to see it, like they want to see, and it's hard to swallow as an artist who, like I said, is trained to be very self-promotional. It feels like, but some young artists just have a great pulse on that. Like I find it really just interesting, like from a cultural perspective, it's almost like the pendulum swinging.
Yeah, it's funny being an older person. I'm about to turn 50, and social media wasn't part of the game when I was in my prime. And so I will always come at it from the outside. Right. I'm just like, I'm not a boomer, but it's boomer adjacent. Right. And that's pushed me to, like, because we all have to embrace the social media thing. It's pushed me just as it did when I moved to Nashville and I was like the guy who could do it. I was the singer in the band and I could play pretty well. Then to come to Nashville and it's like, okay, fuck off. It doesn't matter. You're nobody. Yeah. Look at all these guys. They're way better than you. And so it made me go like, well, what is my flavor on the stage? How do I fit in? You mentioned this earlier, and just so with social media, I find myself trying to figure out where I fit in. And it really is like, it's becoming more and more this way of just embracing my Gen X, embracing my having, I'm definitely way more well-read than all of you fucking Gen Z babies. And like, I'm a serious connoisseur of literature. Yeah. And without being like, sometimes I'm like, God, you're so fucking snobby about your taste. And I'm like, well, this is what I have to offer. Yes, exactly. And so it's just like, it's not for everyone. Not everyone's for everyone. And you have to kind of be okay with that. But that's actually what's cool about social media. Mm-hmm. Because there's these little niches and pockets that you can find of your people, of your tribe. That's really what I'm trying to do with my music, is just like, who are the people who resonate with my music? Like, here's who I am. Here's what I have to offer. And finding your people, your tribe, your audience. And Zac was better when he was coming up. He was better at that than anybody. Right. I mean, he like built his tribe. Yes, I remember watching that happen. He's really good at that, and he has many gifts. One of them is he calls himself a people collector. Like he has just great instincts for other musicians and creatives, and he's a real entrepreneur in that way. Mm-hmm. So the record has just dropped, and I'm glad it's doing so well. It's Thank you been on all over the place. Is there a single are you like working it to trad radio? Yes. Okay. No Tellin. So tell me more. So this is the first record that I've released with a label. I was on Jimmy Buffett's label, but I remember reading. It was an independent label, and I was really close to Jimmy at the time. This is the first time I've ever been signed to a major, and it's something I never thought I would do. I was independent for a really long time, and I've absolutely loved working with Nashville Harbor. It honestly was just the stars aligning at the right time with the right team, and
myself at a place in my career and in my personal growth where I feel like I really know who I am and am willing to collaborate, but I'm not scared anymore of losing my identity or my sound or myself, you know? So this whole process with them has been like truly a pleasure and like just felt really organic. So they've been pushing No Tellin. It's in the 30s, which is great.
Congratulations.
Thank you so
It's
much.
huge.
Yeah, I'm really proud of it. I'm proud of the whole team. I'm really proud of the song. Like I said, the message of it is really important to me. So yeah, we'll see. And then hopefully a single after that, depending, but I'm very excited.
But in the meantime, a 20-date headlining tour.
Yes.
Which you played the first show just 2 days ago at the Basement East. Did it sell out? Is it sold out yet? Wait,
it's not sold out yet.
Okay, cool. Well, then I
hope
can still
so.
buy tickets.
Yes.
I think you're going to be all right.
Yes.
And then is it like tour bus, like that style?
Tour bus. We're going to Florida and the Southeast and the Northeast, and then we're doing a West Coast run. I'm excited. I haven't toured my own shows, since I was pregnant in 2 years. So I'm really excited.
You do?
Yeah.
Is the family coming?
Yes, just some of it. So the way we do it is it just really depends on the run, on what the travel looks like, how long I'll be gone for. We find sometimes that to keep him in his routine is the best thing if I'm only going to be gone for 2 days rather than like planes, trains, and automobiles, and so it just really depends. And then sometimes I bring him. So, we experiment, and I'm really lucky to have a husband that is, as close to a 50-50 partner as you can be when you're a man.
You're still shouldering a little bit more as the byline of that. I get it
he's
from my wife.
Really,
You
really
have no
engaged, and it's beautiful to see. Like he's an amazing father and partner, and it's a great feeling to be able to like go on tour and be like, no second thoughts. Like, I'll see you in 2 days. Like they're just so tight. They just have a really special relationship. So, but it's something to navigate. Like I was really intentional about how I routed this tour, like how often I was going to be gone or how often we were going to be traveling. So, it's obviously different now that I'm a mom.
Well, I'm so excited for you for this next chapter.
Thank you.
I already can, to just bring it back full circle, the record sounds fantastic. So you've already done the lion's share of the work, and now it's just the fun that's ahead of you.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun.
So thank you so much, Caroline, for your time.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations
this was, like, amazing.
again.
I loved this conversation.
Well, great. Let's do it again sometime.
Yes, please. Cheers.
The Morse Code Podcast is produced by Korby Lenker and Jared Hammond in East Nashville, Tennessee. Our executive producer is Randa Newman. You can find full videos for this and all previous episodes at morsecodepodcast.com.